Do you know what time it is?
It's a time.
It's the Ocarina of Time.
Oh, that time.
It's the Zelda of Zelda.
That's not the time. It's Tears of the Kingdom time.
Zelda of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom came out
12th of May 2023.
almost 2 weeks ago.
It was only delayed once, but people are adamant that it was delayed 50 times.
This has been delayed more than any other Zelda game in my life.
It wasn't even a real delay because it wasn't even a firm date. We're just like, we're aiming at late 2022.
You know what? They don't remember the Breath of the Wild wait. You know, how they like, oh, it's coming out in 2015, and then they delayed it like 20 times or something. That's not true. I'm exaggerating. Anyway, so it's finally here. The latest Nintendo flagship. The Zelda of Zelda. My mouth just clicked. The Zelda of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, is out for the Nintendo Switch.
Is that the Ocarina of Time?
Yeah.
Wow. So there hasn't been a new Zelda game in 6 years apart from Hyrule Warriors on Switch and Link's Awakening and Age of Calamity and the Skyward Sword one and Cadence of Hyrule. But truly, this is the first Zelda game in years.
Yeah, it truly is the first Zelda game.
So
I don't know exactly where we're supposed to start.
I think we're just gonna start with just the baseline. Yeah. Did you like this game?
Sure.
It's a very lukewarm response.
I liked it a lot.
It is a good game.
It is a good game. It's like, if you liked Breath of the Wild, you will enjoy this.
Yes.
Most likely.
I don't see a situation where you wouldn't, unless it's like you are...
If you didn't like Breath of the Wild, I can't guarantee that you will like this, because it is certainly more of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, it's like if you were playing Breath of the Wild and we're like, I wish I could build a car. Maybe in that specific scenario, but I think, like, mostly, if you didn't enjoy Breath of the Wild, and there are probably numerous reasons why you wouldn't, I'm not sure this is it. Like, nothing's gonna persuade you, probably. Yeah. Or maybe it's just that, like, if you didn't feel Breath of the Wild was substantial enough, although I really think it was, in whatever capacity, then maybe this one has a little bit more for you, because this is more.
It's the more sequel.
And I think that's like my standout thought about this game. It is so much more. It is disgustingly more. It is like...
Yeah.
Like... dissingly more.
There is a lot of stuff going on.
My bad food analogy now, but my interpretation of this game is like, remember when you were like a teenager or something and you were like, oh, I'm gonna, like, I'm home alone for the weekend, I'm gonna just like live it up now, no parents nor anything, so you're like, I'm gonna have my favorite food, hamburgers. So you're like going to the store and buying stuff to buy hamburger, and like, and I want some candy, and you buy a bunch of candy, like a big bag of candy, and you're like, I want some chips, and then you just adding in this stuff, and like, oh, I want a fucking bag of cinnamon buns, and you come home and you're like, I can't eat all this stuff.
Yeah,
that's this game.
Okay,
it's
sure.
a big bag of sweets multiplied, and you're like trying to stuff yourself, and you're like, oh god, oh no.
I think what's very interesting about it is that it is one of those cases where it's exactly what I imagined it to be, basically, where people were afraid that it would be just DLC, but I was like, well, what do you think they did for 6 years? Yeah. It's like, when you see what is in this game, you will understand why it took time. Like, even the old overworld, I think they managed really well to just, like, put a bunch of new stuff in it, especially at places where before you might not have traveled there, or you found something cool, but there was nothing really happening there.
And that's one thing, that's probably my biggest surprise about this, because I was very concerned when they first said, we're returning to the old world, because I was just thinking, like, how can that be as exciting or interesting? And in the beginning, the new stuff was a little bit more exciting to me, but like as the game kind of progressed, I just kind of felt that the overworld was the most interesting part, and it's weird because like I kind of knew this world already, like the basic geography, like up to the north is Death Mountain, and to the south is the tropical zone and everything. Like I there's no discovery, no real surprise in exploring now, but there is stuff to find. It is recontextualization, and like it actually works. Surprisingly enough, it works.
Yeah, I think so. And that's not even speaking of like what is actually
in the world.
What's actually new in between.
Yes.
Because it's like.
Yeah, we're not going too much into it. We will get to like end game
but
stuff, but that's at the end of it. We will mark it. So like in the beginning, we're gonna expand. Yeah. Right now we're just going really base level, not really talking about anything specific.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think there's a lot more stuff to do here. Like the last game had the shrines, the divine beasts, 5 billion Korok seeds, and a couple few quests.
Yeah. But this one is just expanded a lot more with characters just walking around the world, like exploring themselves and all that stuff.
It's interesting because it's kind of like a peacetime time.
Except it's not.
Of course not. But there's no real threat.
Yeah, like maybe we'll get into that later.
We'll get into that. But like the characters seem more relaxed and at ease. It's just kind of like, there's a mystery here. What's going on? But they're not scared or anything, or just being like we've been living like this for 100 years. Nothing like that. So like a lot of more characters are out and exploring in the world, and like there's a lot more travel and stuff going on between villages and stuff. Like you will meet characters who are also travelers. Yeah. And that's pretty interesting. Like recurringly, like this guy is here and this guy is here now. It's not just Cass.
No, it's not just Cass. He's dead, by the way, probably. But also, it's a video game.
It's a game.
It's good.
What do you think about the new abilities?
I think they're really good, especially some of them kind of reining you back a little bit, because there were some things that people could exploit really easily, and of course you're gonna be able to exploit these things too. But I think they really switched the abilities very well in a way where, like the building mechanic, for example, is kind of like the magnesis thing.
Yes.
But it has that added stuff on top of it.
Yeah, it's expanded. Yeah. And I was quite surprised, but like when I first saw the Ultra Hand, I was just like, okay, so the magnesis stuff is gone. But I was still like, is stasis? Maybe it's not stasis because like that they found an exploit very quickly, and like I see where they removed it. But like I was quite surprised to see that like no, actually all of them are gone except the camera.
Yeah, and I think. Like the building mechanic is really good, because every time we were put in a situation where we could just really go past and fly off a cliff or climb up a mountain, we're like, no, actually, we're gonna stop right here. Like when they give you the building materials, it's just like, hell yeah, I'm gonna build something, because it's like, like even if you build the same things, or if it's something new and exciting, like it's always fun.
Weather balloons to just get high up and just kind of like.
I don't think any of our fucking balloons were the same, like exactly the same.
No, I think a lot of mine were the same. Because
mine were
kind of simple.
You're a good person.
Winning formula, but like.
But I was gonna say though first. Yeah. I think this is just one of those games where every step you take, basically, or when you get to a new place, you get you find something new and something exciting, something to see, something to do, something to build, a puzzle to solve. There's so much stuff. And now the puzzles are expanded out in the world sometimes too, in more elaborate ways, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think that's the thing, you know, where you just go out in the world and you see the stuff and you're like, whoa, this is a thing?
Yes.
You know, you're so, like, actually just surprised to see things in this world, which is, thank God they didn't show more.
Oh yeah, yeah. Without getting too much into that, I just want to kind of talk more about the abilities because, like, I think Ultra Hand is the big one because
that's why they showed it the most.
The one you can do the most with. You can do so much, build, you can create and stuff, and like it's also. I'm not a programmer, but I can also see that like this is very solid. Like the no point at all did something crap out of me with the building stuff. And like you can just put motors and wheels and stuff on anything and it will just kind of work in different ways. And there are some really interesting mechanics that the game kind of throws on you in the shrines and stuff. There's like one part where there's they use a wheel and a chain to make like a Star Trek lifting door contraption, and you kind of just activate it and walk in, and you're like, huh, that's neat. And then like a little further, they're kind of asking you to recreate that, and you're like, wait, how the fuck did you do that? And like I didn't really figure it out, so I kind of cheesed it. But it's interesting because there's so much stuff, and I think Nintendo themselves will be surprised by the things people make here. Like just before recording, I saw someone had put wheels on the wheels of a car, which made like they were a little bit off center.
Yeah, so they were like
wheels.
legs.
So they were like kind of going like legs, yeah, and they were calling them the lizard car. And it's just like that's so cool. It was like almost crawling over like rocky terrain, and it's just like that's amazing.
Yeah,
because it's just physics. A lot of it. It's like a lot of it. It's just like how do you solve this puzzle? Well, remember like elementary school physics.
There's a lot of details in the contraptions that you can make as well, because like the parts, you get more and more of them, and like if you really play around with them, you can probably make some really weird stuff that will like fuck up the bosses and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like actually, like you will just screw
it is interesting also because
put a fucking thing in front
there
of
are a lot of
Ganondorf
parts I think where there's a lot of parts where you're kind of looking at them like I don't really know what this is useful for, but you also kind of understand that it probably is super useful if you're smart. Like I think one of those for me is the gyroscope thing, which always make like the part that makes the vehicle always gyroscope, like it's
stable on one
in one direction, and it can be activated. Of course, it's an on and off thing. Of course, the vehicles are always like just all of it on or all of it off. Otherwise, I think that you could make like computing stuff. That's actually pretty interesting. But like that's something I don't really know. I never really found utility for it apart from the shrines that required me to use them for some puzzle. But like I'm certain you could make some really interesting stuff with that if you're smart.
A turret.
Maybe
a little turret guy.
Yeah. Who's always upright.
Shoots at the big dragons. I was gonna say though about also I'm kind of surprised how well this game runs.
Yes.
Because when people put like in the reviews, there was basically just a bunch of like pluses, and then it's like in the minus there's like, oh yeah, you know, the performance dips a bit sometimes, and that made me think like, oh, it's gonna be like Breath of the Wild basically, but it's not.
What's interesting about that too is that like so before release, a lot of people are like adamant, no, this is not running on the Switch. It's like a developer thing, or it's like it's the Switch 2 in secrecy. It's not the Switch 2.
It's not.
It never was.
It's just,
they wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. It's just very well optimized.
Yeah, it's just very well optimized. And I think also the interesting part is in the beginning we noticed that like when you're doing the Ultra Hand, it's kind of moving the physics around. I think it's more taxing, of course, to the game. So in the beginning part, it does shug a little bit, but I think that's mostly because you are on a really large sky island with a lot of stuff.
And moving parts, yeah.
Yeah, beneath you, the island is lush and detailed, and
you move around.
You have the whole world beneath. Like I think the introductory Sky Island is probably the most taxing part of the game, and that's when the first impressions are probably just like, yeah, the game shugs a little bit. But then later on, when like on the ground or whatever, or in a cave or something, it's like, yeah, building with Ultra Hand, it doesn't shug at all. I think it's just that part that really makes it noticeable.
I think it runs really, really well, especially for the Switch.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, I don't mind that much in general on the Switch. But this was just kind of a surprise, I think. I was expecting it to be much worse with how huge it supposedly is, and definitely is. But I think it's just clever, like really clever optimization that they have done.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you leave a car too far away from you, it despawns really quickly.
Yeah, you gotta be careful about that. Don't leave your car.
Don't leave your car and get another one.
We lost our Flintstones car.
The Flintstones car.
We wanted to put like 50 rockets on it to get up a ramp, and we're like looking away, and then the car was gone. No.
Yeah, really good stuff.
Yeah, but then there's also like the rewind ability. I never used it anymore because like I kind of forgot I had it, and then a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, I can use rewind because
I
like
told you several times just to rewind it, and you're like, what?
Oh yeah, the Ultra Hand is so good that you kind of rely on it too much, and there's also the Ascend. That's also one I hear people kind of forget they have a lot of times, and I do too. Sometimes when he's like, how do I get up there? And he's just like, oh wait, I can use go through the ceiling and
but that's a cool mechanic too.
Yeah, but I kind of started using it a lot more after a while. Like he's kind of remembering that I had it. I think Rewind was the one I used the least because I really didn't always see a utility for it, although I think there is a lot of utility for it.
I think the Ascend ability though, and the ability to build stuff, I think those abilities just lend a lot more stuff to and not just focusing on the climbing. That's what makes it feel more unique and new, I think.
Yeah.
Because if you were climbing as much as in the first one, I think you would be a bit tired by that, because like traveling through the sky or like going through a mountain, I think that's a lot more exciting in some sense, because it's like you have some more possibilities of how you traverse the world. Like a lot of different ways now that you can actually build your own stuff.
Yeah, one thing I kind of found myself doing is instead of climbing a mountain, it was very common for me to just fast travel to a sky island and just
throw yourself
glide myself like over the terrain, because it's something you can do now. You can kind of bypass a lot of that stuff. So I think it makes sense that, you know, you don't have to climb everywhere, although stuff like this and ability may seem broken at first, but then you quickly find that the game is kind of designed around not being able to just
do it anywhere,
anything everywhere, because
it has a limit of how high
things can't be too far away. But the one ability I kind of find myself still using a lot, but maybe it's not just being that exciting as I expected it to be, was the fuse mechanic. Because like you can fuse basically anything with anything, but in a lot of cases it's just kind of like, well, I put a box on a stick, it has a higher attack power, but that's kind of it. And of course there's stuff like, oh, you now can make a fan or make something that spews fire or something, like you can have little attributes to it, but I never found myself really exploring that much with it. Same with the arrows. I never really did too much with it, and in fact, in some sense, the fuse allowed me to cheese the game in some parts, to the point where I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna do this. So one thing you can do, of course, is you can fuse rockets to shields. So I kind of did that. I fused rockets to like all the shields I had, and basically what that was Rivali's Gale.
Yeah.
Used everywhere. It could be used in shrines and everything. So like in a shrine where it's not a locked door, it's just a navigational thing, I literally could use my shield with a rocket. It's one time use, that's why I had several of them, but like you can really easily restock. And then I could use the shield, get up in air and glide to the goal. But I decided to not do that because like the game, I think the game is like sometimes a bit too open for its own best, to the degree where you can just kind of bypass a lot of stuff if you don't really want to engage with the game. But I wanted to engage with the game, so at points I was just like, I'm gonna intently follow the rules here to have more fun.
Yeah, but you know, that's the thing though.
Yeah.
Like I said before, you often, if you have an easier way of doing something, you usually stop and do the hard way instead, because it's fun to build things, it's fun to tinker.
Yes.
It's just fun to make something, especially if the puzzle requires you to do something and you're like just making something else.
I mean, a lot of parts it can be like, okay, I know several ways to get up that ledge or something, but these parts that I'm presented with look fun. It looks like I'm gonna do something cool with it. And a lot of times it is. It's like one part I was kind of having trouble with it, with a lot of quicksand, and I was just like, wait, how do I get past this? And I was just thinking like, I could just use the rocket and bypass this, but I didn't. And what it ended up being was like this shrine that's just a big empty space of like quicksand, and halfway through you get a little scooter thing, little speedboat, going around and like building ramps and stuff, and that was fun. And I was glad I didn't bypass it, but you kind of have to bite your lip and do it.
But I think the game is designed to make you want to do this.
Yes.
So I like, if you bypassed everything,
you would not have a fun time. So you need to force yourself to have a fun time.
You might have a fun time, but I think maybe it's not something worth to complain about, because like that's
no, it's
kind
not
of
a complaint on me, but
no,
it
but
is
it's kind of on you, right?
Because another thing you can do a lot of times, which I also did sometimes, because I was just like, is this what I'm gonna do? Is just build a bridge?
Yeah.
Just takes all the parts you have and build a bridge, and then I kind of use that because I don't know what else to do. Then I get up or past something, and I'm just like, oh wait, I see a solution from the other edge or something. Like, oh, I was supposed to do that. Okay. That's a common thing that happens, because sometimes the most simple solution isn't the intended one, but it's so simple that it's just like, well, why wouldn't you build a bridge?
But it's meant, like, I think it's definitely on purpose anyway. Like, they want you to do it the way you figure it out anyway. Like, it's not that strict, really. But I think that's good. That's pretty good. I like when this game just lets you loose.
Yes.
As in, loose on the world and on the puzzles, and just lets you do anything. Yeah. But
it is a thing, like, because
I'm gonna say though, I'm sorry, because I want to get into this before I forget or something. Because when the game doesn't let you do whatever you want, my god,
you get so frustrated.
It's so fucking frustrating.
Do you want to get into that?
I want to get into that.
Okay, get into that.
Okay, so we finished up the first Sky Island. It's a fun time.
The game begins on a sky island. You can, it's just like the Great Plateau. You stop in the sky. You need to do 4 shrines, and
you
then
get the
you get some exposition. You get the things you need.
Yeah, you get the things, and then you move on.
Yeah, and then you let loose into the world.
It's a nice tutorial, but anyway,
it is. It's a good one.
We went past that, and as we're supposed to jump off the Sky Island, it's like, oh shit,
title screen.
Yeah, no, actually, like, it's it's so annoying, because it's like, okay, so we're here now, and then we jump off, and we're like, oh, we're looking out over the world, where are we gonna go? Yeah.
entire Hyrule, all of that stuff. You've been seeing it from above, but now you're let loose. You're seeing all
finally.
of the stuff. You're like, I've been seeing this in the trailers. I've been seeing this now when I'm playing. I'm so curious about everything. You see all of that stuff.
Finally, we're gonna see what is in this world.
Yes.
We're so excited.
We land in a little pond.
No. First, title screen. We're like,
Was that earlier?
No, it's right as you fall. And then it's like, that's the title screen. And you fall right down into a pond. And we're like, holy shit, where are we gonna go? And like,
you land a little pond, you get up, and you're like, you can go 360 degrees, any direction you want. You can go anywhere, you can do anything. And you're so excited.
Okay.
You are going wherever you want.
And this is partly our fault. But I would say, as having learned from Breath of the Wild, as soon as you jump off the plateau, you can go anywhere. You can beat Ganondorf. The first thing I did was went to the fucking Colosseum right next to the plateau.
In Breath of the Wild.
And I tried to fight a Lionel.
Yeah.
It didn't go well, but it's fun.
Yeah,
right?
what I did when I played Breath of the Wild was like, I first got out of the cave, and it was just like, I want to go to the castle, and they didn't let me. I was just kind of annoyed at the Great Plateau actually, because I was like, I wanna go into the world. And then when I could do it, I went straight to Ganon. Like I just go to the castle, like no fucking stuff, like 3 hearts, shit clothes, like no weapons, like sneaking past the guards and everything. Get to the castle, get to the top. I did not beat Ganon, but I got to Ganon. I was so content with that. Like, it's just like, exciting. That's so cool.
Fun. But like, so, being learned by, being taught by Breath of the Wild, of course, we have some expectations here. So, we just go in a direction. Like, we just go. And for 1.5 hours, we go around, find towers, for example, and we find a bunch of other stuff that we can't do anything with, and we don't understand why. We're like,
is there some
we
quest
don't
here or something?
Like I know we don't have the fucking
the glider,
the glider, but like maybe we get that later or something. Like maybe we find it or whatever.
I got up on the Great Plateau actually,
with that, and you couldn't do anything,
and I couldn't do anything. I was just like, wait, what am I missing?
This
here?
is at the point where I say, oh my god, we gotta follow the way marker, because I hadn't thought about the way marker before, but then I'm like, oh right, okay. So we start after 1.5 hours. We're a bit like, what the fuck? Why can't we go into the tower and get the map like a normal person? And it's like, okay, let's just follow the fucking quest marker then, and we go. Follow the quest marker, and we come to the main hub village, which is a really good hub place, by the way. But this is just like kind of the first experience of going into the world, and we're like, we gotta talk to Purah, and like this made me hate her so much. Like I dislike.
I never liked her to begin with.
I dislike her on so many levels, just because she's like, hey, Link. What the fuck are you doing here?
No, she doesn't say Link.
Died.
She calls him Linky.
Yeah, whatever.
Which is,
no,
like,
it's not important.
No one should call Link Linky. That's no. But don't do that. That's obscene.
That's not important. The important thing is that Purah is just like, hey, dude, I can't believe you're alive. You know what? Go to the castle and talk to this random guy. And you go and talk to that random guy. It takes a while to get there.
You have to walk there.
Yeah, and then he's like, wow, Link, I can't believe you're alive. Where's Zelda? And then you see Zelda. And then it's like, oh, fuck, you better get back to Purah. And it's like, why?
Suddenly it's the fucking Assassin's Creed-ass mission.
Yeah, where it's like, go there and then back again. Yeah. And then you go to Purah and she's like, fuck, that's really weird.
That was
what happened to Zelda?
That was a really bad first impression.
And you know what? When we're there and we're like, they say, where did Zelda go? And it's like, we know where Zelda is. We know where she went. It's obvious. Like, are you characters so fucking like dense? It's amazing. And then she's like, so we're like, okay, can we get going then? Can we get the paraglider? No. Wait a second. I need to activate these towers that you went to all over the world for a while. And make them function. And it's like, why? Why couldn't I just fucking go up the towers?
It's interesting because, like, I then did all the towers, and it was not a single one that in some sense required you to have done the intro stuff in any story capacity or like mechanical capacity, anything. Like,
I don't know.
I guess mechanical, like, because you needed a glider.
Oh my god.
The fucking neighbors.
Yeah, I don't know if you hear them drilling, but I'm gonna ignore that. This is a fitting background noise for this, because it's like, yeah, it's fine if you know. And this is like because we just went in a different direction because that's what we expected to be able to do, and then obviously it didn't work, so it's partly on us. But also, I don't like that setup, because the fact that I have to go to her and she has to tell me things that are obvious.
Yes.
The towers give you the map. No shit, Sherlock. This is an open world game, and it's also the sequel to Breath of the Wild. We're expected to already have done this. And she's like, no, let me give context to this fucking tower. Why? I don't need context for the fucking towers. Just let me go up them. If I go back to Purah, then she can tell me. I don't care. Like, it's just really annoying sometimes, in this game particularly, where it just railroads you in weird ways.
Yes.
Where it's like, why?
And I think that's one of my grievances with this game, is that, because I think this like comes a lot from the criticism of Breath of the Wild, so to say, not having a story, although that just kind of fundamentally goes into what you even consider a story in a game to be, because to me, I think Breath of the Wild's story, to some degree, in a large sense, just is like...
the emergent game.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is that the story of the game is an amnesiac story about a guy who has to remember his past and does so through the longest fucking training montage you've ever seen to get the hearts so he can get the sword and fuck up Ganon. Like, he's just... the game is all about getting strong enough, because you can go to Ganon from the get-go. I guess you can in this one too.
I don't know. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure you probably can.
Probably. In some way.
But the game really doesn't feel as, like...
direct about it.
Yeah, it's kind of just being like, yeah, you know,
because in Breath of the Wild,
if you know where to go, you can do it.
Because in Breath of the Wild, you get the destroy Ganon like instantly. It's like, bam, there you go. But like, so this is not a huge problem.
It's not a big problem, no.
Because after we had done that,
but it kind of soured our first impression a bit.
But because we were a bit fucking pissed off
because
about it.
Because I'm gonna say also, when you've done the Sky Island tutorial thing, like, you have been at the whims of the storytelling and the game's railroading for a long time. You are...
a few hours, maybe.
Done.
Yeah.
Like, you are like, okay, now please, can I go and do what I want? Like, it's kind of like, I think, and at that point, when they are letting you loose, I really don't think the game should just be like, no, actually, instead of being let loose, this is just like a little test to see if you're a subservient little dog who keeps going through the quest lines.
Honestly, then you might as well have just made the town be right at where you fall down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like just give you the glide before.
Like, honestly,
like, so you're not gonna fix the game or anything.
It's not a big problem. We should have figured out earlier that we should have followed the fucking quest line like a normal
hot tip
person.
For anyone who hasn't played it yet: when you get to it, don't do anything until you get the paraglider.
Yeah, because Purah is a fucking gatekeeper. She's the biggest gatekeeper in the world. She's so annoying. She keeps the fucking towers from you. She keeps the paraglider from you. She anything, like everything she fucking keeps from you, and it's annoying. But as soon as we got past that stuff and we were mad about it for a little bit, then it opens up.
Yes.
And you're like, oh, and you're going everywhere, and it's like every site you see, you're like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah, this game is structured in a sense where you're like, you are standing in the middle of Hyrule Field, you are looking in all directions, you're seeing like 15 interesting things, you go towards one of them, and when you're there, you see 50 new interesting things, and you will like that you cannot be concentrated on anything.
This is distraction, the game.
This is distraction town. Holy fucking shit. This is... Okay, the best way to describe this game, I think, is just Zelda maximalism. This is the most maximalist game Nintendo has ever made, and I don't want them to one up themselves on this, because I think if anything, maybe you should have like
scale it back
a little bit, because like you are like my expectation was just like, well, it's the old world again, and it's the sky stuff. That's gotta be the main attraction. Actually, it's not.
No.
I was so little on the Sky Islands because there are not that many of them. I was just like...
But they're the puzzle boxes,
there are stuff to
basically.
do on them, but like a lot of times I kind of get on a Sky Island and it's kind of nothing there, and it's like... They weren't as interesting as I thought they would be, like from the trailers. It was being like, oh, what's that structure? It's a shrine.
I like then that they kept... I like then that they kept the
real,
the depth, the underground.
So
like so basically this should have been obvious in some sense, because people have figured it out in some sense, but not that it would be this big.
No.
So it's of course it's the
you needed paraglider.
It's the overworld above and below.
So it's the high rule, and low rule.
Yeah, the sky rule, as we call it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Low rule, high rule, sky rule.
Yeah. And, like, when we first entered the depths, the underground, we were like...
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean there's a map?
Like, wait, what do you mean? And it's like, it's the entire fucking map of Hyrule, but underneath.
Yeah,
and
the map is this is kind of the land map inverted. So, like, you can kind of see on the map, like, when comparing the lakes are still, like, outlined, but they're, like, walls. I think they probably... He's kind of inverted the landmass map or something to make this, and of course they did a lot of modifications. But it's kind of interesting also because...
But, like, there is so much shit in the fucking depths.
And I think, like, if this, in some sense... Because they have said that a lot of these ideas were first intended as DLC, and I think, like, if this... I think, like, the birth of this probably was they maybe had two ideas for DLC, like one about the sky and one about the depths, because you're kind of getting, like, a vague feel of it kind of being like a DLC, but, like,
it's
in a
too
full
massive.
Game scope, of course. Like, this is not DLC. I'm not saying it is
it's not even
DLC,
close.
but, like, it has kind of the flavor of something that would have been.
Yeah.
Like, kind of added on the first world, like, oh, how do we add something? Well, we have the depths. So you're going down there, and it's kind of a new map down there. Like, how do we add a new world?
Yeah.
In an organic
There's just
sense.
a lot of fun stuff in there.
Yes.
Like, fun challenges, pretty hard sometimes, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
But also, like, just... So, it's pretty funny, because this was also one of those things where there are, of course, missions that can put you in the right direction, which is good. But, of course, we ignored all of that stuff. So we were just like throwing ourselves down, and then the first thing that we do is basically find Master Koga in there.
Yes.
And it's like,
we were
my God,
we were
he fell down in Breath of the Wild into the hole, and that's why he's here.
What's interesting about that, we were kind of expecting that to be like, this is some scripted thing, because it was like 10 meters from where we landed.
Yeah.
We got up on the Great Plateau and you got down a hole.
Yeah.
And that's where he was. And what's like, I guess a lot of people will go to Great Plateau to check it and maybe go down there, so it's kind of made that way. But we quickly find out that no, it actually... We just kind of stumbled upon him, like, by chance, and found something cool, and that was just amazing, because
then the game
unexpected.
tries to, like, we do a mission later, and it's like...
Do this really long and cumbersome quest of following, like, 50 statues direction to get
like,
this, and Link is just like, we already did it.
Yeah, I already find it, and the characters are like, what?
What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly, and it's like, dude, like, it's not that hard, just jump down.
But,
like, Koga... Honestly, the missions with the fucking what the fuck are they called?
The Yiga Clan.
Yeah, the Yiga Clan. Like, those are so fucking fun.
Yeah.
In general, because like finding him.
They're the Team Rocket of Zelda.
He's just a funny fucking guy, and how it all ends up in the end is like, it's brilliant. Like finishing that thing and then figuring out like. It's actually important as well. It's just fucking hilarious, really.
I think the Yiga Clan like is one of the best additions.
Yeah, the reverse Chica
to the Zelda mythos, and I really hope they're just kind of a mainstay, because I think one thing Zelda series has kind of like lost over time is this like more depth to the world of like, maybe not everyone is a good guy. Like maybe in Ocarina of Time, the Gerudo were like a little bit you had to sneak into his base, but you
they're not
befriended
bad.
them, and then they're not bad anymore. No, but you kind of missing something apart from the monsters and Ganon being the villains. Like, could there be another set of villains? And I think that's a good balance to it, because they are really made to be villains.
And
they
especially with how funny these guys are.
Yeah,
like every time you
goofy
make
villains.
him, Team Rocket flies away again, stuff, and he's like taking his little flying machine and he just goes off, and it's always
great.
a fucking blast, and he tries to like work out the Sonai devices.
He doesn't
and he's
understand you
like,
have a magic hand.
oh, it doesn't work, and it's like
He thinks you're doing some
and
magic
he's like,
trick.
he's like really mad at you for
Trying
tricking
to-
him or something.
trying to do it correctly. But
Like I don't know. I just think that stuff is just really good.
Yeah, so
especially how it ties into everything else.
I wanted to say that the depths was like, when I first found it, that was like really exciting to me. It was like, I explained it in a group chat that like, because the cave is pitch black when you get there. There's no light anywhere except these little roots that you find them. They're kind of like the towers. Shrine kind of combined. You just go to a place, you get a fast travel point, and it lights up a proximity area around it, so you can actually see what's going on there. But you have these little bright bloom seeds, they're called, I think.
Whatever.
You get a lot of them. You just throw them out. You don't have to shoot them in an arrow. You can actually throw items, which you found.
We learned from an NPC.
learned from after a while. Yeah, you throw them out to light the area, and it's just this like reinterpretation almost of the world, where like you're traveling in the dark, and that was like fire to my brain. Excitement, adventure. That was the most fun I had with the game.
You
in the
took
beginning.
all of those.
Yeah, I got all of the
By the end of
prerequisites,
it.
because I also kind of discovered that like when everything is lit up, it's not really interesting, but like the unknown is going into it, and he's kind of navigating the dark trying to find the routes was super fun to me. So I got all of them, but like I kind of explained it in a group chat as like, this is my inner 4-year-old like turning the lights off in the room, in my room, and having a little flashlight and just looking at things. You know, oh, that's so exciting! Like it's
It
so
is very
simple.
fun. It's, like I think that they balance the differences really well. Where the regular Hyrule, like the overworld, is just filled with NPCs and quests to do and things to explore that you haven't found, and of course the new dungeons and all that stuff. And then we have the below, which is more focused on exploration in a new way.
Yeah, it's
and
interesting.
Then we have the sky
because
that is basically like puzzles and small challenges.
Yeah, because what's interesting is that every realm has not just their exclusivities, but also like every realm is kind of missing something the other two have. So like the underworld has no shrines and no Koroks. But what it has is, of course, the roots and a shit ton of enemies. Like, it has so much of that stuff. It also has a lot of...
Fucking bone horses.
It has a lot of ore and stuff. Like, it's a mine, of course, because it's underground.
And that you need to get your...
Meanwhile, the sky has no real NPCs because no one is up there. It has little puzzles. It doesn't really have a lot of material or anything. It's more about little challenges. A lot of times the challenge is just get to an island, because sometimes it's a bit tricky to get to one, and that's kind of interesting. So what the overworld has is, of course, the towers, NPCs, a lot of quests.
Some of the things repeat, but I think though that the first time we found one of these Zonai mazes, and we figured out that we had to go from the sky down to the ground and then down to the depths, you know, to figure it all out.
You're doing the ground level first, and then you go up in the sky. But we found the sky one first, because you're like, oh, that's a big box. That's
what
so
it is.
interesting.
But that's really...
That was the big box, was just amazing.
But that was really exciting, right?
Yeah,
like figuring that out. And even if it repeats again later, it's like that first experience, I think, is really... really enjoyable. This goes also for, I don't know if you want to go into this yet, but like for the new dungeons,
I can wait a little bit on the dungeons.
We'll wait a little bit.
I think one other part is of course. You pointed to me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I was kind of want to talk more about the Hyrule,
Yeah.
like the recontextualization of it, because I think like it's both a strength and a weakness in other parts. I think with all the new, the sky and the underworld, I think the main Hyrule, in its familiarity, was very like comforting. Because this is a very, as I said, a very maximalist game. There's so much stuff to do that just having a place where you kind of know everything on a base level, like what it is and everything, it's soothing. It's just kind of like, okay, so it's not all alien. It's like it's something familiar to come back to, and of course, as recontextualized, a lot of places I don't really fully remember. It's kind of like,
No.
oh, was this an original? But
It's
but
been 6 years, so I'm...
but it's also kind of like it's not too common for a game to kind of return to a previous environment from another game. A lot of games try to sidestep that and make you go to a new environment. Hyrule itself is always reinterpreted for every game. This is the first time you really head to the same Hyrule. And don't give me that fucking shit about Zelda 2 having the little original Hyrule to the side.
No, I was thinking
I'm not
of...
saying you, I was saying...
I was thinking of the closest you probably get. We might miss something, so tell us in the comments how stupid we are. But I'm thinking of A Link Between Worlds, of course.
Yes.
But that is mostly the same in a lot of ways. Like, there are
Yeah.
some changes and stuff, but
That's true.
like, it's very
Yeah.
the same. But
But
that's close to what we're talking
Yeah,
about
but I find it to be a bit of a double-edged sword, because the whole DLC feel is maybe the strongest in that aspect. Because sometimes I'm just going to like Hateno Village, I'm just being like,
Oh yeah.
it feels like I'm returning to a game I haven't played in 6 years, which kept being updated, and like it's kind of like I'm continuing the same game and just being like, they're doing this thing now or something. Like it just added a quest or something.
Yeah.
And I think maybe, and this is not a problem. It's not like it's not much more than a little grievance nitpick, but of course, this is a game that expects you to have played the first Zelda game from a lore and story perspective.
Oh, you mean the first Breath of the Wild,
Yeah.
not the first?
Oh
Zelda
yeah,
game.
the Breath of the Wild. Yeah, from a lore and story perspective, whatever. Like consistency's sake, everyone is familiar with Link. Everyone has to be.
Not everyone. Some people have, weirdly enough, I've seen complained about some characters not remembering you.
Oh,
but
that's
I'm
a
like,
complaint. That's good, because that was what I was gonna get to. Everyone has to remember Link now. Everyone has to. The first time you meet every fucking character, just being like, "Oh, Link, I heard Zelda was gone and you were gone, but now you're back. What happened?" And Link has to do his little folds his arms out and back
because he
in
doesn't
and half
talk.
back out again. He does a little gesture, same every time, which is I guess sign language for I went down to the under the castle and Zelda disappeared and I got to Sky Island and was naked and I got a scary arm and then I did a bunch of like everyone has to go through the motions of just learning what happened to Link.
And they need to repeat what he said to them, because it's like, what? You mean that Zelda fell down into a thing and disappeared in a bolt of lightning? And it's like, yes, we like you don't need to repeat it because we know.
Yeah, because it is something the player has not just seen but lived. So it's kind of weird to re-emphasize that all the time. Like, I think...
You know what, though?
You get kind of tired of every time you meet a new character, just being like, oh, we're gonna go to the ceremony again.
Yeah. But I think, though, maybe there are some characters that don't remember you. Like, what is he called? Bolton? Or whatever, the guy who builds your house in fucking Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, he was weirdly
but it's like...
unfamiliar with you.
I would imagine him not remembering Link. Like, just because he doesn't fucking give a shit. Yeah, he doesn't give a shit. So that's fine. But, like, when most characters are just, like, gotta be filled in with what's happening, I wonder if this is kind of one of those more culturally Japanese things.
Maybe.
You know, where games are kind of expected to explain themselves to you, in some sense.
Possibly, yes.
Maybe that's part of it, because it's like, oh, you know, you might have forgotten, or
Yeah.
you could like it's just like the cultural thing of things being explained a bit more, and that might be why they are a bit wordy sometimes.
But yeah, like my grievance with it is mostly that the writing gets a bit predictable and like almost daunting, where you're like, I don't want to talk to this person because it's gonna be a lot of text, because we're playing this together. Like the first game, I hadn't met you yet, I just played it on my own, and then you can just kind of blaze through text and everything, because we're playing together. Like if you're playing a game with someone else in the text boxes, you don't want to kind of rush past something the other person misses or anything. There's a really good addition. I think it's an addition. I don't remember it being in Breath of the Wild. The log. You can see everything a character said.
I think it was in the last one.
It's really really useful. All games should have it.
Yeah.
But basically, we're kind of just reading the text out loud to the other person. You kind of have us be on the same level and everything. And that kind of gets daunting when you're like, oh. And we kind of just being like, we can skip this, right?
Yeah,
it's fast forward.
Because it starts to get like when we have to listen to a guy like having to be explained what happened to Zelda, and it's like, what's really I think a bit weird about that too is that in this game we are introduced to the Lucky Gazette. The newspaper of the world, and it's like that's really
most
cool.
Convenient plot device.
Very cool quests connected to that. By the way,
every character.
Yeah, but very cool quests connected to that. Very fun stuff, where you can get a bunch of different rewards and stuff. But it's like maybe they could have written about it. Maybe people know about it. Maybe they could have said like, "Oh, I read in the newspaper what happened to you." And that's it.
I think maybe they should have just found a way to, but because like the luxury of having a new world is of course that every character meets you for the first time. So like the introductions will be unique to that character and will be more about that character than you. Because every time now it's just kind of about Link. Yeah. And I'm gonna be blunt and say that Link is not a real character. Except they really tried to make Link more of a character in these ones, I guess, because
he has a name.
Yeah,
like
it's called Link, and Link is the like hero. Awkwardly silent in a lot of parts. So he's being like, is he mute? They should make him canonically mute. I think that would be good representation.
But he does talk.
Yes, which is annoying because, like, you know what? If he was actually canonically mute, I would love that.
Yeah.
But now it's just kind of awkward when she's standing like silently, and like it's like every character is pre-informed that this guy is a little bit like stoic.
Yeah. He doesn't tell.
Just keep talking.
So what gets really funny when when you gather a lot of information, and we're talking a lot of stuff that is important to this quest, and Link doesn't tell anyone. Like.
There are stuff Link knows.
Yeah, that is like...
that no one else knows. And they will just speak loudly about, oh, I wonder what happened to Zelda. When Link's just being like, I know exactly what happened to Zelda. We're not going to tell you until I've done these other quests.
It's really funny when he stands... It's really funny when he stands holding his belt and he's just listening to her. I can't figure out what happened to Zelda. And he's
Link is a fucking asshole.
Maybe he just doesn't want to cause a commotion.
But then he tells them anyway, so I don't know.
And then they're like, oh, that's what happened, and they don't care. It's not important. It's like
it is whatever. Really interesting, yeah.
But like I want to say though, I think what's funny is too, like when some characters don't remember you, it's partly because Link is a hero without a face in some sense.
I guess.
Like in the last game, he saved a bunch of people from the calamity, but like how many people really know what he looks like?
Yeah,
like you could have used that to some degree. Like he's just Zelda's bodyguard basically.
Yeah,
to a lot of people probably.
Did a poor job of it too.
Yes, several times. He's just a little boy, but I think this maybe it's the time to get into the...
I think, yeah, dungeons. We can get into the dungeons. So like the last game, there are 4 main dungeons.
Yeah, and they have story connected to them. Some small parts, which are pretty fun.
Very similar structure, like narrative, that like you're finding a descendant of an ancient
I want to say
warrior.
though, but to get to our first experience with it, because I think that's still important to some degree. When we first The first dungeon we did was the Rito one.
The game really railroads it's doing that one.
Yeah, but we
like,
just
you should go there.
Well, we didn't care. We just went there anyway because bird people fun. So it's all snowed over. The kid, one of the kids from the last game, the chief's son, Tulin. He is basically the sage guy here. He's gonna become a sage.
Yeah.
But we get this little story about like there is a lullaby and everything, you know, about fucking ghost ships and stuff, and it's like really cool. And then you try to find him, and you go up the mountain. We even went wrong because they actually give you directions, which is fun. And then when you actually get to the point where you're going up to get to these islands where these fucking ships are, and you bounce on top of them to get higher up. And like this is almost like a dungeon itself.
Yes.
It's like the preamble towards the dungeon.
Very
like
substantial.
Very substantial. You jump on these things and then you get to the dungeon itself. And that's just was fucking cool. Just in general, you know, to have this thing and you have your companion with you, and it's like, this is great stuff.
It's gotta say also, I really like Tulin because like the first impression, like the first scene you see of him, he's just being a bit like, oh, but I wanna do the thing, Dad, and Dad says, no, you can't do the thing. He's the baby, and
but he's the most capable guy,
and he runs off, and you kind of getting a skewed first impression. He's being like, oh, is he gonna be a bratty kid or something? No, he's not. He's the really cool guy. And he proves himself, and he's being like very respectful and like appreciative. And like it's just a nice character.
I like him.
He's like, it's like Nintendo made up for Rivoli being a fucking dick.
Yeah, he also has the best ability, the most useful one at least.
Yes.
Where you can actually get a little boost in the air when you're gliding.
At all times when gliding.
Yeah, it's great. And like, I think when we did the dungeon, it was like, oh, this is really fun. Like, I liked the dungeons from the last one. I'm not gonna say that they were not dungeons. They were.
Because
they were really fun. What they lacked was a really cool boss fight. That's my big problem. And then we get to the boss in this dungeon, and we were so fucking excited because it was such a cool fucking boss fight too.
Like the bosses in this game are fantastic.
They're excellent.
Fucking great. Like I if people complain about the bosses, dude, what the fuck?
Like, it doesn't matter if they're not the hardest thing ever, but like,
it's a Zelda game.
Like,
come on.
The fact that first boss battle was such a fucking cool thing. It's a Molgera,
but a cold one.
A Colgera or whatever it was called.
And you're flying in the air, and it's shooting his spikes, and you're like you're diving through like the glass ceiling almost, and of his back, and like it has this oomph. You're flying up in the air, like stormy weather, everything, like it's just like so grand, and then you're like, oh, you're diving, and you're like
going through it.
You're just being like, yes.
And it's such a good use of all the mechanics. I think all of the bosses use both the new companion character you got, but also the core mechanics of the game itself. Like this boss in particular, great one to start with. Fucking
it's amazing.
Great
it's
stuff.
Just spectacle all the way. But also I really like the dungeon. Because usually I have a gripe with Zelda dungeons being a little bit too like seemingly open but actually really restrictive, where it's just kind of railroaded in one direction. He's going through a bunch of rooms, and it kind of looks like it's more complex than it really is. But this one, these ones are more about you're in a main hub room, and you're gonna find 5 or 4 or whatever switches, and you can go in any direction and do them in any order, and they're all kind of like a little puzzle in themselves, and I think that's more up to my taste.
Like I get that it can get a bit samey because the core thing of what you're doing, but I think the dungeons are different enough for that like mechanic of opening the locks doesn't really matter that much. Because like the way you do it in the Sky Temple is not the same as the one you do in in the Goron temple.
And it's really reliant on your
Yeah.
companion's ability, and I think that's really cool because, like in the last game, you did get an ability from the Guardians,
But I don't think they were.
but that was just like after you did the
Yeah.
whole thing, and
they were not
it
connected to the
yeah,
bosses either.
It doesn't really make sense because, like, when you think about it, it's more interesting to have an ability like that that's useful for the dungeon, like you're using that as the dungeon item, like you use it to get to the dungeon, do the dungeon, like you don't find it in a chest in the dungeon. No, it's your companion.
Yeah.
It's basically
I
doing
liked
the Wind
having them with
Waker
me.
like thing where the two later dungeons in Wind Waker we had a companion.
Yeah, I think that's great.
cool.
That's really fun, especially a good way to add back the idea of items, but not really. You know, it's not really items, but it's like it's the same idea basically. Where you get a little ability.
Yeah, because I think this game, understandably, in its openness, can't have too much stuff that you get from a specific scenario, and I don't think any companion ability is mandatory for doing anything else. It's just very helpful and very specifically used in that dungeon in particular. But
like the Goron one.
The Goron,
is
yeah,
really good.
Yunobo.
Yunobo is.
I think he's my favorite actually because he's like a.
Why did you do it?
Yeah, when it's like he's saying I can do it, but it sounds like why'd you do it?
But he's really good, and I think that boss too.
You said when he has the mask in the beginning, he looks like a Ninja Turtle. He's just a fun guy. I like him because he's like he feels the most like just a regular dude. Yeah. And then like he's kind of when he kind of gets into the situation of finding like an ancient beast or something, he's being like, "Are you up to this?" And he's just like, "I can do it. I think I'm gonna do it."
And he does it. He's really good. And I like that
heard
boss.
some people complain about that whole Goron thing, and I really like. I think that was fantastic. First, you go to the top of the mountain to fight this really easy boss, of course, but like it's really cool. It's a spectacle. You're flying machine and you're shooting them down.
That's also the fun thing where you're like you get to use the fucking flying machine in the thing, and you. That's also the point where like you have learned or you learn that Yunobo becomes a cannon on your vehicles, and it's like. That's such a good fucking mechanic.
It's the second most useful mechanic.
Yeah, God.
Because it's also really good when you go in caves and stuff and it's like ore and stuff. You don't want to like...
Use all your bombs.
Yeah, use your bombs to like ruin your weapons, your sledgehammers or whatever, just to break rocks. You have that boy. It's so great. He just rolls through everything and fucks it up, and you don't waste your resources. It's great. But then you get down to into the Death Mountain volcano and the Fire Temple, and I really like the Fire Temple, but I heard a lot of people don't like it, and I don't really know why. It's just
complex,
a bunch of but it's a bunch of train tracks and everything, like mine carts, Donkey Kong Country. Like the complaint I heard was like, well. The game kind of seems to forget that you can just climb on everything, just get up stuff. Of course, but that, as I said earlier, you kind of have to restrict yourself to not cheese the game.
Like, I mean, you can do that if you want to, but I think the game is built in such a way where it encourages fun.
Yeah.
Where it's like, maybe you want to go on the train track.
The train track was fun.
The train track is fun.
Yeah, and you had to like... active switches and switch tracks and build little rail cars and everything, and I had a lot of fun with that. And then the boss was just great, like this whole like little Rocket League room where you had the big like rock goma spider, and like you use Yunobo's ability, and it's like rolling on the
ceiling,
the walls up in the ceiling, and you like fuck the boss up. It's great. I love it. It's
boss,
so fun.
But like I don't think the
but it's spectacle. It's fun stuff.
In Zelda,
you feel good.
Yeah, in Zelda, I don't think necessarily that bosses being easy matters that much.
No,
because
because
this
it's
is like,
all
have
spectacle.
you played like Twilight Princess or
Yeah.
something? Like, you can't die at the bosses.
Ocarina of Time
it's
has a bunch
impossible.
of bosses that are cool, like Volvagi is a cool boss, Bongo Bongo is a cool boss. Are they challenging? Fuck no.
No, but that doesn't
That's
really
not it,
matter.
that's not
like,
it.
It's I think, at least for me, that's not super important. I
No.
don't need super much
Like, I
of a
don't
challenge.
play Zelda games for challenge. Maybe
At
Zelda
least not
1.
battle challenge.
No.
Like, sometimes you can... It's fun to figure out a puzzle and stuff.
I think it's a weird expectation
I
to
think
have,
though-
because I think this Nintendo are making this game for a
Yeah.
broad audience. They're not gonna have it so
Yeah.
hard. That's
The-
why you can eat in the
the-
pause menu and everything.
Yeah. And then, of course, the what is it called?
The Sora?
No, we'll take that last.
The Gerudo.
But yeah, the Gerudo dungeon, of course, introduces Gibdos again.
You
in
missed
very
that a bit
strange
because you
way.
kind of fell asleep
I
when,
fell asleep,
when
yeah.
I played it
But
late
it's
and
fine.
you fell asleep.
Basically, very reminiscent of the stuff in Ocarina of Time, where you
Yeah.
have the mirror shield and all that stuff.
Yeah, you were doing a
very
bunch
fun.
of stuff with the Gibdos and electricity powers.
Yeah.
There was the tower defense of the town. I didn't really like that. I failed once and was just kind of like, why?
But the Gibdos are cool. They're
Yeah.
they're like a mix between Gibdos and Redeads.
And then there are
And
moths.
They're also moths. And it's like, that's just kind of inspired in a way.
Yeah,
because
because
I like when they take old Zelda enemies. It's mostly just Zelda 1 enemies.
Yeah.
Too. Like, we have the,
That's true,
the
yeah.
Moblins.
Because
and
Gibdos were part of that,
Yeah.
yeah. But I like that they're making them a little bit more unsettling. Like, by making these, like, mummy zombies into, like, moths. Like, insectoid. Like, it becomes...
They move weird.
Yeah, it becomes more like, wait, what the fuck is going on? Why are they spawning out of mushrooms? It's like, it becomes more of a horror thing where, like, it's unknown in a new way, and I really like that.
I like that about this game in general, and Breath of the Wild. You know, it takes concepts that we know and kind of throws them on their head a little bit. But like, I think it was fun to do the little mirror puzzles and stuff.
There's also like a good utility of the fuse mechanic where you can make your own mirror shield.
Yeah.
You're only really useful in that place in like one shrine.
Yeah.
But it's cool
it's
because
nice.
it's like, well, now we can fuse a mirror to a shield, so you have a mirror shield.
Yeah.
You don't need it as like a permanent upgrade thing because you kind of just make it for that dungeon.
Yeah.
It's cool.
And I think that's cool. The boss there is not. It's fine.
Yeah,
not the best one.
It was a little bit more like, okay, this is a big enemy
Yes,
and you gotta
really
hit the
easy.
weak point and
Yeah. But I mean, it's fun.
yeah.
It's still
Nothing wrong
still
with it.
cool.
It was just kind of, that was the last one we did and we kind of been
Yeah.
like,
But I think we were just kind of done
yeah.
at that point.
Yeah, towards the end, I kind of just wanted to...
We're gonna get to
through the
one of the
game.
thing
Yeah.
that I kind of dislike about the dungeons. But before that, of course, we have the Sora dungeon, which, because we are 5 years old, we were like,
So
wow.
the Sora have a unique problem. Every region has its own unique problem. So the Rito are in a constant blizzard. It's very cold. They can't get any food or anything. It's
Yeah.
a real problem. The Gerudo are in a sandstorm. Like they're sheltered on the ground, being invaded by Gibdos. They're under attack and having a bad time. The Gorons are hooked on crystal meth, apparently.
Yeah.
And the Sora.
There's shit
There's
everywhere.
sludge coming from the sky.
Yeah.
Brown,
Sludge.
oily sludge.
Reminiscent of Super Mario Sunshine.
Yes.
But more poopy. Like,
yes,
bec-
it looks like poop.
And because we're 5 years old,
There was a point, so they
there
called
was
it
a
the
point.
sludge.
Yeah, the
and I was
sludge.
just kind of
And I was
reading
just-
the text for you, and you
Yeah.
were like at certain points, you'd being like, instead of saying sludge, can you say dookie diarrhea? And I had to catch myself a couple times to correct myself when reading. But yes, I held to that through the entire duration of the whole quest thing.
I think someone should mod the game.
I called it dookie diarrhea, and that made it the most funny fucking thing ever because we're 5 years old.
Yeah, and it's
so
like-
Sidon would be like, Link, we must get to the source of the dookie diarrhea from the sky.
it's like the thing is like, where could the dookie diarrhea come from? What is the source of the dookie diarrhea? And it's like every time they call it that, and it just makes it all very silly. I don't like, of course, that they gave Zidane a girlfriend, because that's not okay.
It's also that
he's very homosexual.
But he's also like his voice.
Yeah.
I guess it was probably Asia Calamity or something. No, wait, he was a baby that was. No,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I did not imagine him as a little English twink.
But like the point, I think one thing that was really weird too, his girlfriend basically looks at you and is like almost like you're gonna have a threesome or something.
Yeah,
because he's like, oh, if you would wish it or whatever. She says something like really strange where she's, if we would please come meet me in my chambers, and she looks at you like with this fucking
like eyebrows raised or
like
something.
this fucking look at you, and it's like, dude, Zidane is right here. What are you doing? And
Zidane is just being like, it would be a pleasure to me, Link, if you fuck my wife.
Something like, maybe. And it's like, this just made...
They really want a polycule with Link, and I respect that.
Yeah, but it's like, I think it's this, all of this just made this dungeon experience really funny. We have like this fucking couple who really wants to have sex with you, and the dookie diarrhea falling from the sky, which is just like, oh my god.
Yeah. Although I gotta say,
oh my god, this the monster. This must be the source of the dookie diarrhea.
But I gotta say, of all the dungeons, and I don't want to be the person like, oh, I'm gonna rank all this stuff.
Yeah. Let's rank.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm not gonna rank them. I guess
I
like
the Spirit Dungeon specifically because the Spirit Dungeon was the best one because it didn't have a dungeon.
Oh well, we'll get to that.
Right. Yes.
I guess I like the Fire Temple the most, maybe.
Yeah.
Because
I like
a contrarian.
I like the first one.
The first one was really good too. But like I think I disliked the Sora one the most. I didn't dislike it, but it was like a little bit underwhelming. It's like a little big platform and like 3 little islands around it, with a little puzzle in each one, and it just felt like this is it.
That one also threw us back and forth.
Yes.
Like several times, and it was like, oh, get on with it. Let me fucking climb the waterfall. Like, you know, one of these things where it's like, go see my girlfriend first, and then she tells you to go back to Zidane, and it's like,
then you gotta find Zidane's dad,
yeah.
And he's behind one of the waterfalls. And,
that was nice though.
Yeah, but you kind of missed the waterfall where it was, and I was just like, you were ready to continue looking. I was just like, wait, can you look behind that one again? And we did, and he's just like, oh, he was there. I was just like, thank God. We would have been really
The boss
annoyed.
Is pretty funny.
But you also gotta get up the flying whale. Yeah. You gotta find the little water drop, which wasn't too hard. But like, there you go. You also had the slab in the like. This was a really like do a shit ton of stuff. Go into the little toilet, find the thing. Like, it's just stuff. There's so much stuff, and you gotta climb the whole thing.
This is what I'm
which is fine, but it was just like, oh my god.
This is what I'm saying though, that the stuff that when you went down in the toilet and up the stream, and you get to the places before the dungeon, all of that feels like part of the dungeon, and that's
I love that.
Fun. That's really good.
That's great.
It expands on the stuff, and there's a lot of puzzles, a lot of fun stuff to do, battles to commence.
Yeah, but like this game kind of made me think back at games like Ocarina of Time, where like, for example, you go into Kakariko Village, like, oh, there's a fire, and Sheik is just standing by the well, and she's like, oh shit, a big shadow comes out and like fucks you up, and you're like, what the fuck happened? Like, it starts raining, the fire's out, no worries, and Sheik is just like, oh, here's the song, go temple, and you're like, wow, that was quick, really punchy, we're going in, like. Sometimes when playing this game, it was just like, what if you just went to a place and you're just like, Link, go in?
Yeah, what if? But you get to that point where, because now we're past that stuff, but like, one thing I don't necessarily like, because it was nice the first time when Tulin gets to talk to the old sage.
Oh, yeah.
And they show the cutscene where it's like, I was a sage together with Zelda, and Zelda told me to come back and do the thing to help the sage and the Link man. And then it's like, oh, cool. But then they do this
for everyone.
For every single dungeon.
And it's the exact same.
It's the exact same.
None of the cutscenes have anything like unique to them. They could have done like
give us some
framed it in a way where like you see a different part of the battle against Ganon
because
or something.
Wait, because they do this in the other stuff when you collect the little what's it called?
The Nazca line.
Yeah, the Nazca lines and the past stuff with Zelda.
The memories.
Like those things are disconnected. Why couldn't they do it here?
We're
like
not gonna get too much
but like why couldn't there be more like just a little bit of information
I think they could have spiced it up a little bit because
it's interesting that they are just basically, instead of telling you the player, they're filling in the characters.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of there's a line where in games where like it's a weird thing because it's also like, well, you can take this in any order, and they don't want to make several versions of the same cutscene. I think I get that, but at the same time, it's really stilty writing where it's just like, do I need to see this?
Yeah.
Do I actually need to see this? Like the sages, the past sages, they're barely characters. They have like masks that obstruct their view and like, you know, sounds like speaking in a can, and like I don't need.
Maybe they can tell you
to
like parts of like the battle or something.
Yeah, and
you know, right?
As you said, but like, it gets very samey. I think this game maybe like the writing in this game has a little problem with repetition and like maybe not really knowing what to do with the writing. Is being like, oh well, Link, go to my wife, go back, it's an ancient riddle. Woo. Yes, and is there anything more before?
But like it's most of it is at least something like when it's connected just to the part because it's not like I'm not saying that all of the story is bad. Obviously,
I don't want to
complain. Get to stuff later.
I don't want to complain.
But no, it's not just that. But that part specifically, when you finish the dungeon and all of that was great. You know, the boss battle, the dungeon, good stuff. And then you get to the part where they have to tell the guy about being a sage when Link and we already know this.
Yes.
It's like Link could have told them, dude, you're probably a sage, man. But it's like, nah. I'm gonna let you have this experience for yourself. He doesn't spoil anything. He's a good guy in that sense. Like he lets them have the surprise. But maybe
I think there could have been some way they could have
some unique
made
revelation.
it open for any order without it being so samey. I don't know.
Give it in pieces, basically, in some sense.
But like before we head off into like the deep end, I just want to do one more thing that I kind of like, because I don't want it to seem like we're complaining about this game. This is a good game.
Yeah,
like
there are complaints, but of
course, and I'm not one of those persons who's just like, oh, you gotta complain about everything is flaws. You gotta fucking go into that. I think maybe because I don't usually play open world games and stuff, this is kind of like novel to me still in some ways. But like, I think Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are so like, there's so much stuff to do and so much like resource gathering and like going and do this and trade this for that, and it's kind of increasing numbers that it's almost becomes like it's busy work to me, where it's like I'm going through a process of just and like just chemicals in my brain who happy about number go up to the point where like when that's not the most smooth experience, when there are like little hiccups along the line, my monkey brain goes a little bit like
You get a bit annoyed.
Yeah, I get more annoyed by that because like I play a bunch of really janky games other times which don't bother me at all. But I think like this is obviously one of the most polished games out there. But I like the hiccups bother me so much more. And I think it's just because this is like the busy work of this game is way less obstructed than it is in other games, because in a lot of sense I know I'm just sitting here walking around this map going like, oh, Korok, give Korok, Hester, Korok, give, I want one more sword, oh, go sword, I've got a big sword, big number on sword, I'm gonna hit things.
Yeah, we get it. God. So,
yes.
yeah? So what was
so
your
basically, my experience with this game makes it so that maybe I have become a bit more complainy than I would otherwise.
No, I think what's the problem is that what we want is for this game to shut up for the most part.
Of course.
Mostly, I just wanted to shut up sometimes.
Yeah, there were a lot of NPCs we did not talk to,
No.
because we're like, everyone in this game talks too fucking much. I'm not gonna talk to everyone.
No,
Fuck you.
Yeah, and like that's just the thing, that what we want to do is run around the world, find interesting things to look at and do. Even the quests, because those people at least do something. But like, sometimes it's just like, yeah, get on with it.
Yeah,
I get it.
A lot of times this game will be like, here's something interesting. But to really use that interesting thing, there's a little guy standing next to it. If you talk to that guy, he will give you some exposition on it, and then like there will be something interesting to happen. And I just go, no.
You know, it's just a thing where this is probably this is probably connected to the idea of Nintendo somehow compensating for the last game where people complain about there not being enough to do.
Yeah.
And I guess for me personally, I don't jive with that entirely, because that means that I'm going to be a little bit more hand-holded.
Yes.
And I don't want that. But it's like, I don't think it's to the extent where it actually makes the game bad or not pleasant to play. But there are so many times where I'm like, oh, please, just let me go. Like, I just want to go up the poopy waterfall. Like, oh my God. Like, I know where it is. I know where I'm supposed to go, but the characters are too slow to catch up. And I'm like, oh.
And
this is like when we get to the Spirit Temple.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
because
we're entering the spoiler zone now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've already.
Yeah, but we're entering spoiler zone. We're gonna talk about the end game stuff now.
Yeah.
This is the part where if you haven't done the 4 main dungeons, that stuff.
And finish the game.
We're talking about everything past that now. So like our last impression before that is, game is good. We liked it.
It should shut.
Zelda 1 is still the best Zelda game.
It should shut the fuck up more, but it's fine. Yeah. It's good.
Okay, so we're gonna get into the thing. We're waiting 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Please leave.
Okay, so. I was just gonna say, when we get into the Spirit Temple, this is already connected to other things. I mean, if you felt spoiled about the other thing, why are you here? Anyway, the thing is,
it's blurting out Spirit Temple.
Spirit Temple. It's like we went down into the underworld, and this is where we talked about the car that we were trying to make.
The Flintstones car.
Yeah, the Flintstones car that we were trying to make to give some fucking
put 50 rockets on it to get up a ramp.
Yeah, so we could get up a ramp. And behind that, because after that
ramp,
we were just like, okay, we'll just climb then. It's boring, but we'll climb. So we climb, and then it's like in the darkness it shows us a cutscene, like it's a
black
sweeping,
screen. You see the sweeping shots of like a little light in the distance, like something moving, like, oh, there's a cinematic I don't see here.
It's really funny. And it's the Spirit Temple, and we're like, oh, and we hadn't done
the Gerudo one. We hadn't done the Gerudo one, so we're like, oh, is this like the Gerudo temple?
No, I think actually we had done like one dungeon at that point when we found it. Yeah. So it's like, oh, yeah, I guess this is a dungeon later. And turns out that, yeah, of course, we hadn't counted for a character in the game, Mineru, who is one of the sages from the past. Yes. And of course, so yeah, that's the Spirit Temple. And we're like, oh, maybe we'll get back there. And oh my God. Just the thing of going to back to because we were already feeling like, oh, we gotta finish this game now. Like, we gotta move on. We gotta work.
I kind of rushed through the Gerudo stuff. That was the last one we did because my expectation was doing that, and then probably some little thing, and then Ganon.
Yeah.
Or Ganondorf. I always mix them
He's
up.
the same.
I know which one is which. The pig guy is Ganon, and the man is Ganondorf.
It's the same.
My brain is conflates.
No one cares.
But yeah, that was not the case because this game keeps going and keeps going and it keeps going. So basically, and here's the thing where like me not talking to NPCs and stuff, you go to Kakariko village. They tell you in the beginning like, oh, there's some ring ruins. I mean, it's like, dude, there's ruins everywhere. The ring ruins are not interesting. In fact, I don't know why the Nintendo thought that like I would be really interested about the ring ruins because, dude, have you seen the fucking shit that's in this world? The Death Mountain is spewing fucking cartoon fog. I want to look at that.
It's also you can't go up it anyway.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna say. So I go there anyway, and they're just being like, "Oh, we got an order from Princess Zelda. Can I go up there?" I'm just being like, "This stern guy was really adamant about that." So I'm just being like, "It's probably something where I gotta like fake." Like a letter from Zelda or something to trick that guy, maybe sneak past him, and he couldn't figure it out. So it's just like probably not important. We left it. And then we kind of stuck because they're just being like, you search old ruins across Hyrule, dude. There's ruins everywhere. I used to like I'm stuck.
This is after we did all the temples.
Yeah,
and you have to figure out where the last sage is
because they're just being like,
yeah, and they say, and
gotta find the last one.
It's really funny because this is one of the things where it's like, yeah, fuck, I like that. I like that you didn't hold my hand at all, but we had forgotten about the ring ruins.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, now you can get up there, and this starts the longest quest in the world.
So basically, what happens is you go there. And they're just being like, no, we can go up there. So you get up there, you get a picture of a script and you show it to the guys. And he's being like, oh, we can go to this area. And we go to that area and we meet the guys. And he's being like, wow, there's a thing here, another thing we can do. And you gotta get the 3 parts of the costume and you gotta take that on, put it on, go to another place. I
don't think anyone understands what you're saying right now, but anyway.
Yeah, because I'm kind of over exaggerating. You do the offering, and then you can go up to the sky and go do a thing, and go through an entire sky island, and then you get to the thing, and you find another thing, which points to, oh wait, go down here, and you're being like, well, okay, I go down there, and you take that stuff, and you take the fucking thing, and you go down another thing, and you keep going. Like the game. This is the longest fucking railroad in the game does. It's just being like, oh my god, this better be worth it.
I still think it was cool.
It was cool.
Just getting there, but it's like...
At that point, I was just being like, can the game fucking end?
It's we were so ready to be done, and then it just kept going. And then we, of course, like you find this mask that points you in the right direction, and we follow it, and we're like, oh, put it on the fucking... the flying machine, and we fly down, and then we find another
put it on an elevator, we go
and then,
down.
Like, so we find Minoru. She's basically the sage of spirits, so she has separated her body from her fucking
from her spirit from her body, not her body
exactly.
from spirit. Well, I guess.
And then it's like, oh, so we gotta put her in a robot. Cool. Actually, that part was pretty fun, just building the thing. But then when you're done, like with the puzzles to do that stuff, great stuff, by the way.
Puzzle for each, little mini shrine almost.
But then you have to walk
limb
all the way to the spirit temple.
You get a mech, and you're being like, whoa, that's so cool, I have a mech.
And the mech sucks.
Yeah, the mech sucks.
It's really
kind of find out that like, well, it's just kind of a companion. It's better to not ride a mech.
Yeah.
So you kind of do it walking on foot.
I gotta say though, I'm really happy that when you've done that, you've gone past, there's a lot of monsters, you're gonna put a bunch of different machine parts on them, like a cannon and stuff. And then, when you get to the temple, I was so happy
that it wasn't a dungeon.
That it wasn't a dungeon. It was
just the boss. Because
everything
you did before was a dungeon.
All that stuff before that was a dungeon.
Yeah.
Just separated up in small pieces, and that's fine. Thank you. The boss, just doing the boss with this rock and sock and robots, great, thanks. And then you're done. And it's like, thank God.
Yes.
And we go back. And we go to the main hub area, the town.
Yeah.
And we talk to Pura again, except we don't want to. But she's like surprised of all the things we have figured out, because at this point we're basically told about the Master Sword, but we have gotten the Master Sword like 30 hours before this, probably. And it's like, this is the point where we tell her what happened to Zelda, and she doesn't seem to care that much.
No.
And what's really interesting, I think, is that this is the point where they would tell you how to get the Master Sword, basically, or at least put you on that quest.
Yeah.
And the Great Deku Tree can also do that.
Yeah.
So there are several quests pointing you in the right direction.
But we had already done it.
But so we found all the memories and all that stuff.
We talked to Pura, and she's just like, oh, you should get the Master Sword. And we're like, we have the Master Sword. And she's like, great, you should go to the underground and find clues about where Ganondorf is. And we're like, we have already gone to the underworld to find clues where Ganondorf is. And she's just like, wow, fantastic. You should thank the person who helped you with that. And he's like, she did not
help us. Actually, the guys in the underground were more helpful.
Yeah,
with all
but
that
it's
stuff.
pretty interesting that like
we figured it
at
out.
that point the game is like still supposedly going if you haven't done those side quests, which we had. It's just getting the Master Sword by finding the memories and beating Master Koga in all the places, and he tells you where Ganondorf is,
which we already know.
Yeah, like he's under the castle that it was in the beginning.
But it's like, but I think that quest line is just so good in general that you would just do it before that anyway.
Yeah.
Like, at least for me, that if I had to do all those things, both go to Master Koga and collect all those things, I might have been a bit miffed.
I would have been pretty cranky, I think.
But
also before that, you have to go to the castle to follow Zelda and fight Phantom Ganon with you guys.
Phantom Ganon is really cool though.
Yes.
I think that boss fight really neat, but also I think we can get to that later. Whatever. The point is, this is a bit all over the place, but because there's so much fucking shit to talk about.
Yeah, this game is too much. We're not even talking about halfway through.
I think the thing here is that, like, I think the memories in this one, I was already expecting there to be memories in some sense, especially when we learned rather quickly. You just look at the trailers, you know that Zelda is in the past. So that whenever
there's something with Zelda.
So when all of the, like, when you let the Master Sword basically go back in time, like it's contextualized in that way, like it's obvious that it's going back in time. It's the clock sound and everything with the fucking time ability.
Yes.
And then everyone is like, what happened to Zelda? And it's like, I know she went back in time, but then she's
wearing like Sonai clothes
Sonai
and everything,
garbs.
and this is being like from the get-go, Sonai or an ancient civilization, they're all dead.
Yeah. But like when you get then, I think that they added the extra part on top of that. Like you get all of the memories, and then you of course see the part where
the imprisoning war.
No, but you like you get the beginning of the thing where it's like she talks to Minoru and all that stuff, and it hints about what is going to happen. Basically, she says that, oh, you know, there are some ways you could get back, like maybe you can harness your powers in some way or whatever, or I mean, you could swallow your fucking secret stone and become an immortal dragon.
Yeah.
And that's not like, it's no, big no.
You become a big dragon.
But at the end of it all, Zelda does this. Because as she has heard from the Deku Tree before, which is also another memory that you get when you talk to the Deku Tree, is that, of course, the Master Sword, with time, heals itself.
Yes.
And it can bathe in sacred energy. So basically, Zelda, to facilitate this, she swallows the thing, and she becomes a literal dragon. And when we figure that out, and you see her in the sky, we're like, oh,
she was here all along.
Yeah, and like that's just a really cool moment.
It's ridiculous, but I love it.
And then you fly out like instantly. We're just like, oh, there she is. We teleport to another one and we jump down and we fall on top of her, and we have already enough stamina to get the sword.
It's pretty
So
interesting. It's a flipping of the first game where you needed hearts, but now you need the stamina, because stamina is also really important.
So nothing is holding us back here, and it's so great. Like such a good moment. Like you just do that and then you leave.
It's almost a little bit like Shadow of the Colossus when
it's
doing
a bit,
the circle with the sword.
But it's a bit melancholic, you know. It's like she sacrifices herself.
It's a pretty
again.
interesting thing where you'll be like, oh, is this how, like, Zelda, has she sacrificed herself? Is she never gonna come back? Of course she fucking is. Come on.
But this is the thing. I'm gonna be real though. This is one of the things. Like this Zelda has been in so fucking much turmoil and sacrificed herself for the people.
She has used the thing where she's be like, I'm gonna go into the torment chamber for 2 million years. Yeah. Nothing's gonna stop me.
But it's like, this Zelda, if anyone, deserves to be playable at this point.
Oh like, my god.
She's...
We were like, before this, he's being like before all the trailers and everything, he's being like, surely you're gonna be a play Zelda in this one. Like, that's gotta be a thing. Come on. Like, come on. Come the fuck
It's such
on.
a shame, because, like, honestly, all the stuff that she does makes her an important character. Yeah. But, like, she only does
I think
things
this kind of goes into the direction of this being a reinterpretation of Zelda, because the first Zelda game, it's just like, Zelda is someone you have to go save. She's just an important character. She's the princess of the kingdom. You need to save her. Because that's just a fairy tale, and I think these two games kind of reinterpret her more as like almost a Christ figure or something, like a martyr, someone who
sacrifices everything,
bears the pain of the entire world herself to protect it. So she just puts herself in like century stasis of just holding something, sacrificing herself, and like she is a martyr.
It's the greatest. Like she sacrifices everything and all that. She literally has the tears of the
it's
kingdom.
like you have to save her in a more like magnificently grand and almost like religious way. Yeah, it's larger than life.
That of course gets us to the end, where you finally go into the go down beneath the castle, go through everything. You basically just go through the enemies. It's really funny that Ganondorf is really, I think, portrayed.
Are we really getting into that first? Should we talk like more about the actual story here?
What? Yeah.
Yeah. Because
like what?
I find it interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Go.
So
I just didn't want to sit here for a million years.
Okay.
Like
but
Zelda.
Like, we haven't even talked about like the opening of this game, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But basically, like, so when we first played this, we were being like, wait, what the fuck? They refer to the imprisoning war, and then the mummy Ganondorf, which you really liked.
Oh yeah. The Lich Ganondorf is
moves
the coolest
like a stop motion character and talks like a skeleton.
His voice is so cool. He's like, I'm a fucking
Lich. But he refers to Rauru, and we were being like, what in the actual fuck? Are you doing the Zelda timeline?
Are you doing Ocarina of Time?
Yeah, and they don't.
No.
But this is a thing, because, like, of course, because my interpretation of Breath of the Wild was, since this is just a full-on fucking reboot, everything is new and reinterpreted, they were going back to the basics, I always assumed this is not timeline nonsense. This is a reboot. They're reinterpreting the whole thing without a real firm basis in other stories. That's why you have Rito and Sora in the same like place. You have all that. They have just taken bits and parts of everything and kind of created a new story that's just a new everything.
Yeah.
And that's why this just kind of works, where they're now reinterpreting another old Zelda thing, the imprisoning war.
This is what I've always said about the Zelda thing in general, like the story, that I've always seen these games as legends in themselves. Yes. You know, it's like it's like stories being literal legends being handed down through generations,
reinterpreted
by
perspectives,
cultures
or whatever.
people, and it's retold throughout. So it's always going to be a bit different. But I don't believe in a real timeline because it doesn't make sense, especially not how these games are made.
Yeah, some games have like firm connections to each other, but I think the point where you start to like kind of make a full net of everything, it's kind of falls apart. Where like
especially when you start with the Zelda 1 and like all of these you have to place
like
them
the
somewhere.
official timeline has like 4 Swords Adventures after Twilight Princess, and he's being like, that's such a tonal clash. I know they released like 1 year apart, so like surely they knew about one when they made the other, but like calm the fuck on, dude. Like to me the timeline has always been kind of nonsense. So when people were being like, oh, we're gonna fucking have the payoff here, no, and there will never be a timeline payoff.
You have small little things.
Never,
like the only big nod here, I think someone is probably gonna correct us. Actually, this is like you can place it here, but like the only thing I think that they really nod at in some sense is like the fee sound of the Master Sword.
But that's also something that doesn't really like. People were expecting, oh, Fee's gonna return this one. Of course not.
No, she slumbers. The whole point with Skyward Sword, like at the end there, she slumbers in the sword forever. She's not coming out, dude. Yeah. She's fucking done.
Yeah, but yes,
it doesn't matter.
So, but I also like the idea of Zelda as a legend, like it's being retold, because it's not just like a vague understanding of the stories, because that's also what the games are. The games are like the same stories being retold in all the Zelda games, like a very basic story. They're made by sometimes different people, sometimes the same people. They are all made for their own time. A game like Ocarina of Time was made for 98. It's not a game that would be made today. All Zelda games are kind of legends for the time they were made in. They kind of fit a mold. Tears of the Kingdom is a game of this age.
2023.
Yeah, this is the sort of Zelda game that fits us now today, and I think maybe people never really consider these games as like real world creations made by people who have like thoughts and ideas behind them, because like why do they make every game the same story retold? Like, why do you do that? But that's probably because it's an interesting little exercise. What if you did just tell the same story again and again and again, but every time you just rewrote it completely? It's an interesting thing to do, and I don't think people truly appreciate that enough about Zelda, that it actually does that. Yeah. Go. So in the end,
so
you meet Ganondorf.
But like there is, we've already talked about all the fucking dungeons and stuff, because that's part of the story. It is. But also like, I think Ganondorf in this one is just kind of funny, because he's like a little lich man. He's like, I'm so fucking powerful. But then he has like one Lionel in his little cave, and it's like, he's like, do something, and you just fly past it. You don't fight that. Why would you fight him? He's gonna gloom your hearts. No way. I'm not gonna fight that one when I'm going to Ganondorf. Never. So he just flew past all the enemies and just fought the one we actually needed to fight. And it's just hilarious in that way, because one time, I don't remember what character it was who said it, but it's like, why would Ganondorf, like, if he could just, it's the, when you fight him, the Shadow Ganons, the Phantom Ganons, the fucking sages, your new pals, they come in and they're basically like, you know what? If he's so fucking cool and strong, why is he hiding underground? Like, why didn't he just kill us now?
Yeah, this book. Ganondorf is a little bitch boy.
Yeah, because he's a little fucking, like, because he's just sitting there. He's in his little bathtub, and he's like, no, you gotta get strong first. What I wanted was to fight Lich Ganon, because I think that design is so fucking cool.
I find it kind of weird that they actually did that whole design thing where they never really used it. Maybe they intended to.
No, they did for the Phantom Ganon.
Yeah.
Those
and
I
mean, it wasn't the first ever teaser trailer for this game, so we have known about that sort of mummy character for 4 years now.
But I think he's cool. Like, I just think that's a cool concept of having like
Ganon,
a Lichy Ganon who's like, his hands are moving like...
The Ganon boss fight had several faces as well, and I really think that there could have been one face with the mummy.
No, but
like,
it was cool though. It was a good fight.
Yeah.
You know what I like in these games oftentimes? It's when you get to fight a character on your terms, basically. Yes. Like, they are equals in some sense.
Yeah, he
because
can do the
he
dodges
can do
and
the
stuff.
flurry attack too. And it's like, this guy...
And he can dodge your flurry.
Yeah, and it's cool. Because then you at least feel like this is like, you guys are on the same level.
I also love when he's just like, this isn't even my final form. He's doing all the fucking Dragon Ball thing, and he's being like transforming, and his health bar is kind of continues going through the edge of the screen.
It's really funny.
It's like all off center, like not even like symmetrical.
I think that boss fight is really cool. It really ups the, at least, like, it's very familiar to Twilight Princess, but while Twilight Princess was fucking shit, that boss fight fucking sucks.
This is the best Ganondorf boss fight since Wind Waker, which is a roundabout way of saying Twilight Princess kind of sucked.
No, let's be nice.
Twilight Princess is a fine game.
Don't take it too seriously. We're just being mean. We've recorded for almost 2 hours now. Please have
mercy.
Have mercy on us. We're just
transparency hates Twilight Princess.
We're just throwing out ideas. Basically, like, where that game was really like a bit too easy on the final boss fight, like we're talking about, and the setting was a bit boring because you're like on the field and he's just slowly walking towards you. And this is basically what's happening here, but I think the setting of being underneath everything, like you're in the deepest depths of the earth. Right, it's in the deepest depths of the earth. You've gotten here, it's time. And then he slowly walks towards you, but then he throws out his sword and he speed boosts towards you like a fucking anime guy. Yeah. And he's like, shoo, with his sword, and he switches weapons and all that stuff. Fun fight. He dodges your attacks, and then you dodge his, and then you attack again, and he dodges yours, and it's like that's just such a cool thing.
It's cool. He also has these attacks that used to take away your heart, like they just disappear from your meter. That's so cool.
It is really cool, and I just think
a real threat. That's like one of the scariest attacks you can have in a game like this. They're not permanently gone, of course, but you're being like, oh shit, now I can't heal as much.
I think if you're not ready,
he can fuck you up.
He'll probably fuck you up in some way.
Yeah, he can fuck
this
you
is
up
also, I also like that the fight, during the fight, the Master Sword can't break.
Yes.
Yeah. So of course you use the Master Sword because it's cool.
I just want to also add that we don't dislike the weapon breaking.
I actually enjoyed it even more in this game.
I think,
and I already enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it's a good aspect because it does make me use more weapons than I would otherwise.
But also, it makes you make weapons in this game that
makes
you might
experiment
not have
more
made.
with stuff you wouldn't otherwise. Sometimes he's being like, well, maybe I can add this to that, and it kind of sucks, but you're fine with it.
I wonder if you can use your, like, a spring shield and make Ganondorf, like, just bounce back into a ragdoll. He's like, fuck Link!
Could that happen?
I don't know.
Oh gosh, I feel Ganondorf would be one of the more scripted enemies where he would just kind of just, like, override that.
But, like, honestly, I really like that part. You know, he's just, when you're...
you did that battle because I was getting towards the end. I kind of took over towards the end because I just kind of wanted to get done with it. Yeah, and you were, I was just like, I don't want to do the whole fucking Ganondorf thing because I don't like bosses in games. So you were like, I'll do it, and he's watching you do it, and he's being like, yeah. Glad I didn't do all this shit because I suck at this stuff.
Yeah, but it's like, I really liked, like I said, when you're trading blows. And it's like, you get the flurry, and then you about to attack, and then he does the flurry, and he's about to attack, and you do the flurry again, and then it's like, oh fuck, and you don't get your...
It's such an anime battle.
It takes a while because you need to get the hits in, and it's like, it's fucking great.
A bit exhausted
Good
towards
stuff.
then.
Yeah.
But then, of course, when you beat the second phase,
Yeah.
he's just being like...
Then it's spectacle time.
He is hate incarnate. He's just like, fuck all you guys.
Yeah.
You fucking suck. I'm gonna fucking kill myself to kill you.
Yeah, he's basically... I think that's a really funny thing about Ganondorf, in some sense.
I think that was the only part where I really felt Ganondorf being like, just Ganondorf. He is so hateful, and it's just about power and everything. Because we had a whole flashback stuff, and he's just kind of like, I'm evil, power, and you never really get like a true explanation for. He's just evil for the sake of being evil. I think this, like the whole flashback Ganon stuff, Ganondorf, I kind of felt it was.
We don't get a good feel of him.
No. Wind Waker Ganondorf is still the best Ganondorf because he's the only Ganondorf who's like written like a person.
Yeah, almost a bit sympathetic,
Yeah.
But he's like, this one I think is kind of funny at the end, because he's like, all the people who you fucking hated before, everyone's dead. Like there is no one left, and you're still a little bitch.
Yeah.
But anyway, Ganondorf, just like Zelda, eats his fucking rock. And he also becomes a dragon because he's so hateful. He doesn't even care, because eating that rock makes you lose your mind, and you're not you anymore. You're not the same person. But he's like, fuck it, I'm gonna destroy the world. And this is the worst choice he could have made, because this boss fight is just a spectacle.
Yeah.
A good one at that.
Yeah.
But he gets fucking pummeled, because of course
I love that the final boss of this game is the logo. The logo
the
is the
Ouroboros.
Ouroboros, the two snakes. At first we were like, wait, is this gonna be some time bullshit? We're like, this is the snake Ganon around the castle in the first game because it was like thrown back in town or something.
Sadly not.
They never really explained why there was a Ganon and this Ganondorf. They're not really connected. It's kind of weird, but whatever.
I guess he just oozed out of him like while he was under the temple.
Yeah.
But okay, so basically he does that. Zelda comes and you ride on top of her as a dragon.
Yeah.
To get down to his fucking
little,
big fuck me lights that he
little weird eye blobs on his back.
So this part is a lot easier than the first part,
because
but
it's
I think
not
you
a challenge.
earned it.
It is.
Yeah, you
it
earned
is a spectacle, and that's the kind of thing with the last game as well. I never had any problem with the final phase of the Ganon fight there, and people were so upset about that. I think some people are gonna be miffed about this one too because it's not a real challenge.
But I
because
think
it's spectacle. You're flying over Hyrule. It's so grand, and you're being like, "Fuck the dragon, go Dragon Ball,"
Yeah, go Dragon Ball. I think the thing is that like you earned this. You fought the harder boss fight with Ganondorf, and now you get the spectacle fight. And you swirl around and you fight them and you fall back on Zelda to get up again and to get down, and then you fucking kill the motherfucker.
Yeah. You get knocked down, you get up again.
You
down.
do the classic where you hit him in the head.
Yes.
The fucking little thing at the head, and he's like, "Fuck, not again!"
Ganon becomes a nuke. Link unleashes the third impact on Hyrule, and then Zelda is Zelda still dragon? No, because you enter a dreamscape, and then Rauru,
and
who's not the guy from Ocarina of Time, but the McGregor goat.
McGregor goat.
He is the hand.
Yeah.
We never talked about him.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and his wife Sonia, who Ganondorf kills in the past, it's not important.
They're back.
They're back as ghosts, and they're just being like, "Put your hands together, Link." And then they're just being like, "You can't reverse the dragon transformation, but if you put your hands together and
if you want to clap,
if you want to clap," and they do the donkey rap, the DK rap, and with vague mystical powers, Zelda is reverted.
But this scene, though,
no real explanation why. I'm not gonna complain about it. It's just fairy tale bullshit. Who gives a shit? Of course, Zelda is back.
But you get back into the real world again, And
we were kind of joking, like, yeah, so she's gonna like become a human again in the sky,
Fall.
and then it's just like, oh, she did.
yeah, and I said, you need to pick up the controller. You just quickly picked up,
Yeah,
and then
you're
like
diving towards Zelda. You're being like, oh, I'm gonna save Zelda. I'm gonna get her in there.
And honestly, I think
it's
one
great.
of the best parallels that I've seen in a long time, where you get in the beginning of the game, in the beginning of the game, Zelda falls into the darkness, and Link is holding out his hand, but he can't reach her, and she falls. And then you have the same thing going here, where he reaches.
Yes.
But this time he catches her, and it's such
perfect
a good
bookend, and you're like,
such a good
now
moment.
kiss, and they don't,
and
because
they don't,
Link is gay,
and it's really, yeah, that's fine. But also, it's like that moment is just so good.
It is so well earned.
Where he catches her, and it's like, and then you get the thing on the screen afterwards.
Find Zelda complete.
Yeah, and it's like,
it's so satisfying. You're like,
yes, we did. And I posted a fucking meme, the one where Zelda, the CDI Zelda, where she's in a blanket, and I'm like, when we finally found Zelda, because it felt like that, you know. It's very nice. There was, of course, the prologue then afterwards also.
The epilogue.
Yeah, epilogue, I'm sorry.
But before we get to that, like this game really, like I really love the spectacle ending of this game. You're doing the really hard boss fight, and then you're like doing the dragon shit in the air, and you're falling from the sky and doing this cool stuff. Yeah. And you get the so satisfying, and it's very like it's great stuff, and it's like it really feels well earned and satisfying, and I like it ends on a high note. It's just like, this is fantastic, despite everything.
Like all of the complaints we have had during this, when we fought Ganondorf,
just fades away,
and we finished it, all of that faded away, and we were just like, what a great
there
game.
Weren't big complaints anyway.
There weren't really, and it's like, you know, it's just nice.
And then there's like the credits where like there were 5 billion testers, because of course there were. You can really tell.
Yeah.
But of course the epilogue scene.
Yeah, where Pura for some reason is part of the game.
We were just like, why are the sages, Zelda and Link, and then Pura is there, and we're just like, you're not part of the gang. Get away from here, bitch.
Go away. But it's like, I think it's just really nice. You have a lot of nice Zelda tunes going on here. You have Zelda's Lullaby.
Oh yeah, they play the main Zelda theme at the prologue, and you're just being like, they never played it once until that point. I don't think so. Maybe they did in some like small capacity.
To the spirit
world,
goat lady. The goat lady. All the new sages are like, we're gonna fight for Zelda, and she's like, oh, you guys, and then it's over.
She's just like, well, let's see if I can find some other magical way to put myself in
danger next
time. I mean, Anuma said that he's like, the next game is probably gonna be like this as well, and I'm like, what are your thoughts on like a sequel to this game?
I would like to see them go the ocean route.
Yeah, we were talking about that, like, because you've gone up, you've gone down, and you have the same world. I don't think
they will go the same.
I don't think it's gonna be the same Hyrule next time. I think because like you kind of have to flip it. Like this time, of course. First time they make a new engine, a new world, and everything. And then the sequel is just like same world expanded, so we can add more stuff on top of it. But now this is so like functional that I kind of feel that maybe a next game would instead be a new world. Now that you had like, you kind of flipped the idea.
Although it would be fine with them using the same Link and Zelda.
Yeah, that's completely fine.
Maybe they could went with a boat.
Yeah.
Out to adventure.
So we're kind of talking about like the kind of do a Wind Waker, because I think now also you could make the world really massive in that sense, like and the sense of discovery more prominent, like, because now it's the open ocean and like it's the distant horizon, and you need to get your boats and everything. You can't just fly anywhere. Like, it will be novel, it will be a new thing. But who knows what they're gonna do. We were talking about one other thing though, because when we're playing this game, we kind of got the feel that like, this is so substantial, there's so much stuff to do here, there's so many things going on, that we were kind of being like, this could be an online game,
basically.
an MMO.
I don't think they will do
adventure, and probably not. I don't see Nintendo making that. But I was also being like, but if Nintendo were to make an MMORPG or something like that sort of stuff, wouldn't this be like the best basis for that? Like, it kind of feels like something you would have, kind of make a world that you can keep adding on top of or something, because this is such a solid structure that was just like, what if the next one is more online, like
multiplayer?
Yeah,
maybe.
It is so hard.
They had the idea of having multiplayer in Breath of the Wild.
Yes,
I still want Zelda to be playable in some way, and I think if you make a third one, like in some way, I think that's where it's possible, because like if you continue on this world, this is the moment where Ganondorf is dead. Ganon is dead.
It's time for Vati, baby.
Like, yeah, why not? Like, honestly, that's the moment where you're like, oh, now the Master Sword, it doesn't really matter. All of that stuff. Maybe Zelda could be the hero. Like, because if they're so fucking nerdy about their fucking lore, maybe that's what you need.
Yeah,
I just want it. I still want it. I think it's a shame.
I think my biggest request for next game is just being like, please, Zelda.
Yeah.
Can we play Zelda? Like, in some capacity. Just have her be more like. I don't need Zelda to be Jesus Christ again. Like.
No, it's fine.
But like, there was this other thing we talked about.
Yeah.
It's also like, because when making Breath of the Wild, they were also toying with this like really old idea that like, what if there was a sci-fi Zelda? And then we was thinking like, it could also be something they did. Like, I mean, what if it's like in the distant future or something, and it actually is more futuristic? Like, what if they actually did that? Who knows? They
did use a bunch of technology in these games though. And I think they tailor-made it better.
Yeah,
for
I think they're more for
Zelda.
having the ancient, super advanced technology rather than future technology.
Because it feels more in line with Zelda.
Yeah, mysterious.
Like, even if it is a laser or whatever, it makes sense because it's from a little dragon head.
Yeah, it is pretty cute that they're used to like, we can have all this high-tech stuff, but when it's
look at these wheels
on a mysterious rock with strange runes on it, it just feels more magical, you know?
You know, you take these fucking monster wheel, the monster truck wheels.
They're just tech tires, but it's just like, oh, but they're Sonai.
Yeah, they're green. They're glowing. Stuff like that. I think it's a cool game.
I think that's all we had to say.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? I'm trying to rack my brain of anything
one
else
thing.
Interesting.
No tingle as far as I know. And that's just a shame. This would have been the perfect one. You have a little guy who is the quartet leader. Yeah, he's like, yeah. And that's one of my favorite.
I think his name is like Maestro, or it's like Mastro or something.
Look, I never want these games to be fully voice acted, because that would mean that the little characters that say things like, oh, they wouldn't exist anymore. Like, I love when the little guy says, yeah.
You've been saying this for years, but like, you could imagine like the guys from the CDI games being in new Zelda games. You could have like the fucking wizard guy who's being like, Squadala!
Yeah, Squadala! Like, it's so easy.
They fit in real well. It's kind of funny.
And I think, like, that's just... I want more goofy characters. Like, I like the little goblin guys who you meet his brother this time. Yeah. The little monster guy, whatever. Kilton, yeah. His brother you meet, he fucking eats those little...
He's a furry.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like, I like those characters because they say like... and stuff like that. I love when Zelda characters just do voices, like they're like, oh no, and the stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh. I think Tingle.
Sploosh.
I think Tingle makes perfect sense for this world, and I guess he's kind of removed him because people don't like Tingle. But
is so good.
Tingle would make perfect sense here, and I guess like
he would just be on balloons, like a little guy. Like, he wouldn't even be, like, human size. He would be like Kilton, something like that, you know, in that size. And he would be like, he's flying by balloons and you shoot him down with the arrows, right? And he like, you could even make this into a map thing, like instead of the towers in another game, where it's like, he's like, oh, no. And he gives you the map. Yeah. And he's like, oh, you found me. Well, I've got to reward you. Yeah. What? You? And it's like, that's what I want. In the next one, no more towers.
There's no Tingle. 0 to 10. Garbage game. Yeah. Fucking hate it. Nintendo, what are you doing? Please.
Get on with the times,
Get your shit together.
Where is Tingle's Rosy Rupee Land 2? Where is it?
Didn't they make one of those?
No, didn't really.
There
not
was like
not a real sequel.
It was this Tingle's Rosy Ramp Land.
Yeah, Rump Land. Anyway, the point is that don't make more Zelda games, but also put Tingle in it. Not the guys from Twilight Princess, those that are like trying to be Tingle, the clown guys. Ugh. I hate them.
I love clowns.
But it's not the clown part that's bad. Like, okay, so one thing.
We're not talking about Twilight Princess.
Talking about Twilight Princess. I'm gonna say though, one thing that really annoys me about that game is that it's trying to be this like dark and realistic world. No, wait. And then it still does the fucking Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time thing, where they're like, the characters look disgusting.
A lot of characters in Twilight Princess would just fit in Wind Waker.
Oh,
that's true.
Yeah.
Like cell shade them, and it's probably
look
worse.
at a lot of the characters in the village, for example. Like they're just
the village, the Kakariko village.
No, the fucking Ordon.
The Ordon village, yeah.
Like they just look disgusting. Like a lot of them, like the guy who has the little mustache. He's like, Urgh.
Yeah, and Colin, fucking Colin.
Oh, like. What are you doing? Anyway, the point is that I think a lot, like, they should add more stupid looking characters.
Yeah, next time, Transparency reviews Twilight Princess, apparently.
Oh god,
no, we're not gonna do that.
I don't want to
Maybe next time is Pick Me 4, who knows?
Midnight's is
this
really
was
good.
kind of like us doing this after the Super Mario Bros. Review. We were like,
there was someone who said we wanted more. Yeah, wanted more rambles.
This is like us streaming without people talking and us being weird.
I'm sorry if we missed something or if it was too rambly, but you know what? That's what you paid for, which is to say nothing.
I'm gonna say this. If there's something we missed, we just probably didn't find it in the game. There's a lot of stuff we haven't done, and I kind of feel done though, so I'm not sure I'm gonna get back
No, I'm not gonna go back and finish it. Okay, I finish it.
Oh, wait.
This is game not meant to be 100%.
No,
just like the other one.
Oh my god! Like Korok Seed gives you a piece of poop. Like that's the biggest.
You
fucking
probably get a
sign.
piece of.
But I'm gonna
shit
add one
too.
last thing. This is my last point. I'm done after that. There was no Gerudo outfit.
No.
Nintendo, please.
No.
What is this?
What is this? You brought back a bunch of like costumes, but not that one. Transphobia.
The costumes in this game weren't trans enough.
There was one
So the
you
next,
used a lot.
but like you know, like Triforce Heroes.
Yeah.
Where you can just put on like a cheerleader dress.
Yeah.
More of that, please.
Yes.
That's the stuff. That's
the
what
stuff.
we want. We want. You
Put
know
on a
what?
dress.
Okay, wait. The next Zelda game.
Tingle in a dress.
Yes, but also all of the costumes should be super feminine. Like there should not be
All
a
of them.
single one that's not feminine. And I want the nerds to be really annoyed by that because it would be glorious. And like you can't even have Link naked because Link would be in like fucking panties or something. It would be great.
Yes.
But everyone would still call him he.
Yes.
And that's what I had to say.
Zelda, Breath of the Wild 2.
Tears of My Kingdom, if you know what I mean. Boo-hoo.
Where?
Cryland.
Cryland.